First off, wash your mouth. It's important. It's very important. Want to stay hygienic. I was very deterred from this game for a while because I heard a lot of things about the fan base being awful. And I don't understand why. I still don't know how it got to that point. It's a real shame because it deters you from wanting to play it. Just out of spite, really, which means you miss out on an incredible experience. This game was phenomenal. One of the better horror games I've played in a long time. I mean, right off the bat, the opening screen is beautiful. For what reason does it need to be that gorgeous? Even though, yes, there's a dying, very mutilated man on the bed in front of you. It's just such a well thought out image. That combined with the music of the menu screen, I'm not even kidding, I sat there for 5 minutes listening to it and just taking in the scenery. Something about those two atmospheres clashing together just worked so well. I was completely drawn in. I just had to sit there and listen. Upon starting the game, you are pretty much immediately met with the psychological horror side of things. You start in the cockpit, something's going on, you leave, and then you're in these seemingly endless tunnels, just not panning out for you. And you come across this freaky donkey, the express donkey. I don't know his name. Polly? I think it's Polly. He's just a dude. He's just the mascot. He's just there. And then that's that. Purpose of it? Don't know. But it was an interesting start. Immediately after you meet the crew. And I gotta say, they did a really good job. For a game with zero voice acting, just going off what they say, the way they each individually speak, you can really feel the individual personalities and what you think they would sound like. Honestly, I think it's pretty clear what each character would sound like. I just thought that was really cool. After their little discussion, you get up and look around for a little bit, see the ship in its horrible state it's currently in after the crash. This is also where it's revealed that that sunset you were seeing in the main menu was not real. That's just a screen. We are in space after all. But I guess you could have assumed Crash landed on some planet, and this was just the scenery ahead of us. Nope. No ocean, no water. We're just drifting in space. Which I guess then comes the question, where the fuck did we crash? Are we still in space? Did we hit an asteroid? Are we on another planet? What happened? I actually don't remember. If it is explained, I'm pretty sure it's an asteroid. But I don't remember. But I just love the setting it sets for you already. It's a very hushed tone across the ship. All you hear is the humming of the pipes and everything, but it's clear that this place is not as lively as it was anymore because something devastating just happened, and you can really feel that in the atmosphere and the noise and lack of noise. I mean, there's no music that plays in this sequence. After you look around for a little bit, you'll come across the Infirmary. This is my favorite part of the game because this is where it really starts to set in. You come in and you see the captain all fucked up from the crash. And obviously, with most of his skin torn off, he's in a lot of pain. Makes sense. So you have to feed him pain meds because the stand-in nurse is not really doing her job very well. And because this game has a lack of animations for people moving around, when you do actions like this, the screen goes dark and all you hear are the horrifying sounds of agony as he is trying to swallow down these pills. And it is genuinely horrific. You're just forced to sit there staring at a blank screen, hearing this awful sound, just letting it sink in until it's over. And it lasts an agonizing amount of time. After this, you go down to the bottom of the ship, you go to try to look into one room, but Swansea won't let you in because it's all foamed out. So after we go get our code scanner that only the captain can have, we can open the doors to find what we hope is food, because we only have so much on the ship. After doing that, we cut to another time. This is one feature that in most games would be a big annoyance, but I think they did it really well here, switching from point to point as you're slowly piecing together this story. It chooses really good points to cut you off. Every time you're at the peak of investment in the story, it goes to the other place. And it's a little frustrating sometimes, but I think they did it pretty well. I think they made it work in a way that wasn't a complete bother until later it starts to pick up to be a little more frequent, and that is annoying. After this, we go back to Before the Crash, where we play as the captain instead of Jimmy. This is a very interesting choice because, I mean, for one, we're switching from two different characters, which is unusual, but also we're playing as the person who we know brought down the ship, but we don't know why. This is a pretty fun sequence because this is where you actually get to really meet all the characters individually, meet all their personalities before everything went to shit. I really like all these characters too. I think Daisuke is how you say his name, I would assume. I don't know.
Daisuke.
I was close enough. We got Swansea, Jimmy, Curly as the captain, that's us, and Anya. After we meet everybody, we finally get to know what is in the reserves. Is it food? No. But we do get this fun infomercial. Yup, that entire cargo ship full of mouthwash. Should have seen it coming. I don't think that I did, but considering the name, it should have been pretty obvious. But it's not just mouthwash, it's got alcohol in it. So the crew takes it up upon themselves since they don't have any more food. They're gonna die anyways. Let's all get wasted. Later we wake up and you get to see how shit everybody is feeling after this. There are just bottles everywhere. It sets a good tone. And you can hear a loud cry from the distance. It is Curly having the most miserable time of his life. So you get to do this again. More painkillers. Oh boy. This happens a good few times. Every time, it gets worse and worse, and I love it. It just is so good at setting the tone. However, this time, when we're done feeding him this medicine, the psychological horror starts to come back. Full swing. A very ominous setting. The lounge is now very dark and red because the screen is broken with a warning sign on it, and it's just you and Curly at a table with a cake. Nothing strange about that. But you need something to cut the cake with, so you gotta find something. There's no knife around here. How about the axe? So you go to the cockpit, find the axe, chopped into the chair with blood for some reason, as if somebody is dead right there, but they are not. But it's not a pleasant sight. It's definitely not good. It's not something you want to see. So we take the axe, start walking back up to the lounge, and this ethereal-like music starts to play. And it grows louder and louder until you reach the room. It just completely stops. You open the door, and the screen is now displaying an eyeball. Very large. If you look around, you can start to notice it's looking where you're looking. This is your eye. What the purpose of this is, I don't know. But if you're just looking at the screen and seeing the eye, it looks really fucking cool. It's a really cool screen. And with no other sounds. Like, you don't even hear the ship anymore. It is just dead silence. That screen, your footsteps, and Curly laying on the table, ready to be chopped up by your axe. It's very eerie. You'll go back between times again and again, switching back and forth over and over, getting little tidbits of lore here and there. And then there's one part where Daisuke comes to Jimmy because Anya has locked the medical room. So you have to follow, quote unquote, follow him to the room. Because there are no really animations in this game, obviously you can't actually follow him. You just gotta walk past him. But you start hearing footsteps. Turn around. He's just standing there, looking at you, a little closer than he was before. A little freaky. I don't think this is supposed to be a scary part of the game. But if you keep doing this, keep testing it, you'll notice he is walking with you. You can't watch him walk, though, because there's no animation for it. So this is just a little clever trick they have to have the character move forwards with you to get to the same point. It's just really freaky, and I really liked it. Anyways, turns out Anya is in there with the gun and Curly. It's unclear who she wants to kill there, him or her, or both, but our most pressing matter right now is getting inside that room. The only way to get in there, other than the doors through the vents, and the only vent that will lead there, is the cryo room, which is supposedly full of foam, according to Swansea, so he won't let us get in there. He is guarding it. So we make a little concoction of a little cocktail to knock him out and take a look inside. Turns out there is no foam. There's one remaining working cryopod, and we assume he's saving it for himself. And Daisuke's way too trusting of Swansea. I mean, he's been his little underling this entire time, so he just kind of in denial, just thinks that Swansea really cleared up this place very nicely, and thinks, oh no, he just forgot to tell us about the pod and everything. But it's very unlikely that that's the case. Jimmy knows better. This place was never full of foam. Swansea just didn't want everybody to riot over the cryopod, but we assume that he wanted it for himself. Regardless, the vent is in there so we can climb our way back into the med room, and it throws us another one of those sequences where you just have to sit in a blank screen and listen to it happen. We can't fit. We don't know the ship like them, so Daisuke goes up, and something goes wrong up there. We hear him scream and then shuffle around a little bit and then confront Anya. We can only assume the worst because we're not seeing any of this, but she probably killed Curly. Now, the game jumps around a lot, as we have said already, but I'm going to try and keep it on the same timeline when I'm talking about certain parts to make the story make a little more sense to you, but this change is important. So right now, we don't know what happened in there. We just know that Anya has a gun and is either going to kill herself or Curly. Daisuke goes up, he confronts her, something's wrong, something happened. Then, before we get any confirmation on anything, we get another flashback. Something happened in the past where Anya took and hid the gun case. Curly confronts her about this. She tells him she's not going to kill herself, and she can't even open the case, but she still took it and hid it. We don't really know what the problem is yet, but Curly assures her none of this has to be on the report logs. Then she reveals she's pregnant. Pregnant. Nothing is said directly after this about who it is, but it's pretty apparent it's Jimmy. And she's afraid of him for some reason. Obviously, she doesn't want him to know about the baby. And she can't use the gun to defend herself, so she made it to where he couldn't get it either. After finding out that Anya is pregnant with Jimmy's child, Curly goes to confront Jimmy, and then this is where we learn Jimmy is the reason the ship crashed, not Curly. He wasn't too happy about when Curly told them all that the company was going under and cutting everybody on this team. So for whatever reason, Jimmy decided to take matters into his own hands, pin the crash on Curly, and become captain himself because he was jealous. But that didn't turn out too well for him, did it? Then we're back to the present time. We have missed what happened in the med room for now, but it appears Daisuke's been shot. It's Jimmy and Swansea with him, trying to figure out a solution to help him, but it doesn't really seem there's anything they can do anymore. Then Swansea raises the axe a little bit. Jimmy's already getting an idea of what's about to happen, so he tries to put a stop to it. And then Swansea goes on this bit of a monologue. And as we're going through this, Daisuke's groaning gets louder and louder to the point where it's pretty much the only thing we hear. Until finally... that one hurt. Getting to know these characters, this game has a really good way of getting you attached to each and every one of them in a different way. Daisuke was a good kid. He was a lot of fun. He was a good character. And it was obvious from all of this going down that if you wanted anybody to survive in this, you would want it to be Daisuke. And I don't know that it's directly said, but I don't think Swansea wanted the pod for himself. I think he was trying to save it so that when it came down to it, Daisuke would be the one to survive. He was a hard ass, but he really cared about this character. But it was too late, so he had to put him down. And even worse for me, that was the end of my first game session. And I didn't have a saving point before this, so I had to watch it again. Wasn't any easier. Then we go into the med room. It's unclear what exactly happened, but I'm assuming something went down. Anya shot Daisuke, and then Swansea either killed Anya with the axe or the gun. Either way, Anya's dead now. This is where everything starts to really go down. This is the decline of Jimmy's mental state. Now, a few psychological things have happened already. Every time they have happened, it's been with Jimmy. One that we skipped across because it wasn't relevant to the story at the time. Going through this warehouse section, in the back of the cargo ship, and the donkey mascot is hunting you while you try to find an item. You can hear him rustling around in the background. Very creepy, honestly, because whenever you make enough sound, he comes charging, and it is very loud, very eerie sound, and then it just stops in front of you, and you can only see it with your code scanner. And when you do get a glimpse of it, it is sniffing around to find you, and it has this super elongated neck. It is just a super freaky looking creature. It wasn't a very fun section because it went on for so long, and it was very hard to not get that dude's attention. One thing that I loved especially is that not a single psychological aspect is in any way unrelated to the ship, the story, the crew. Everything you see in these moments, you can connect to something you've already seen in the game. Except for maybe this. But we'll give that a pass. It was incredibly unsettling, and it does tie itself back to the mouthwash in a way that flows naturally. Now, we are at a table with all of the dead members of the ship, plus the captain. Only we haven't seen how Swansea died yet, though we can see a bullet hole in his head. But all the dead members of the crew are gathered around the table, with Curly on the table, and Jimmy's job is to provide the feast being Curly. So now, in an excruciating little minigame, we grab a knife and saw off Curly's leg. It is not a pleasant scene. It makes you very uncomfortable, and the sounds are horrific. Now, is all of this actually happening? Unclear. I would believe yes, Jimmy is mutilating his body right now, and he does have their other dead bodies propped up in the chairs. But he's seeing them alive. They're not. He is going through shit, and he's taking it out on Curly. Throughout this whole game, it hasn't been constant scares. The horror has mostly been the situation, which is terrifying, and it is a horror in its own way. But now we're actually just in the horror part of the game. Everything is scary now. The scenery, the table, the psychological degradation of Jimmy as we go through the ventilation and cannot turn around because if we do, whatever face comes and attacks us. So we have to backtrack our way slowly until we finally reach a point and the ship gets all wonky and gravity becomes a weird thing where you're on the walls or the ceiling until eventually we find ourselves confronting Swansea. And yes, I made that decision to ruin the cinematography of the moment and shoot at his dick. This section sucked. It felt like kind of Silent Hill-esque in this area, but it wasn't. It was just a graveyard with fog. So through this, Swansea runs around, and he's a goofy little dude, and you have to shoot him all the time. I died way too many times. You have to shoot him like 3 times. I got hit a lot. This was genuinely hard. It sucked. After doing so, you get to hear Swansea's story, which is a very heavy story. The only thing he even really did wrong on this ship was killing Daisuke, and even then, he did it to put his suffering to an end. Swansea's the hero of this story, but that doesn't stop Jimmy. So upon killing him, we get to go through a fun sequence of the ship slowly turning into organic material until we come out the mouth of this giant head of Curly, and across the room is Curly set, strapped to a chair, with monitors all around him, blood everywhere. And then we get a fantastic little mini game where we have to shove part of Curly's body down his throat, forcing him to eat himself. And every time you mess up, he throws up, and you have to do it again until you get the puzzle just right, and he swallows it. Very, very unpleasant. Everything about this is horrific. And then Jimmy cries for sympathy, taking responsibility, and blah, blah, blah. You don't deserve any of it. You're a horrible person. Sorry. Then there's the centipede guy. I don't know how you're supposed to get through this section, but it's very annoying, and I don't have a lot to say about it. centipede guy. Until finally, we get to this really, really weird section where you're confronted by Polly, the mascot, which I think it's just a way of conveying Jimmy's guilt to himself, but it's just really weird. It's really weird. And that goes on for a while, and then the last thing we do is put Curly in the cryopod. The cryopod meant for Daisuke, but instead was given to the man who should not even be alive anymore because of how much his body has gone through. And like, there's no way he's not bleeding out after his leg got cut off. There's no way he's surviving this. So in the end, it was kind of pointless. Jimmy killed the whole crew, save for himself and Curly, then put Curly in the cryopod, so Curly will survive for 20 years until he's found, but he's probably not going to live long after that. And then Curly just dies on the ship anyways. So it's just this whole way of asking yourself, what was the point of everything in this game? And you really just left there with this beautiful music as the cryo tube freezes you, just left here with your thoughts for everything you just experienced in this entire game. And it was just incredible. The feeling of finishing this game, I can't even explain. Just sitting there by myself after everything you go through in that story was just insane. It was insane. Now, one of my favorite things about this game, on the horror side of things, not that you play as the villain the whole time and that's the twist, but that because of it, almost every single time there's an action being done that is horrific and is just an unpleasant thing to sit through. It's something that your character is doing, and the game is forcing you to take that into your own hands. Cutting off his leg, shooting Swansea, making him take the pills, cutting off Curly's leg, making him take the pills, shooting Swansea, making him take the pills, and then making Curly eat his own leg, twisting and turning his insides until you get it just right, causing so much pain and agony. All these horrible things the game makes you do. It was a lot. It was a different turn for horror games, I think. Like, because so often in horror games, you have these horrible things happening all the time and all this stuff, but you're always just forced to sit there and watch, to actually be the reason it's happening, to be causing it yourself, to be doing it by your own hand. It's just sort of a mental challenge the game pushes your way that is really hard to wrap your head around, but you know it's the only way you can progress the game, so you're going to do it, but it's not easy to do it, and the whole thing is so unpleasant. With the visuals and the sound, the body horror, it was just phenomenal. It was a great, great horror game. A beautiful mix of body horror and psychological horror. I love the atmosphere for this game. It was phenomenal. And every single little room had its own unique look. Like, nothing was all identical, same, boring metal grates and pipes everywhere layout on a ship. No, it was this really cool retro sci-fi look to the ship. I mean, there wasn't even a single window. The only window, quote unquote, was just some big screens. And I just loved that every single part of this game was so unique. It did not really take from other sources like so many other games do. There was not a single PT moment. Not fucking one. Oh, that made me happy. That made me really happy. I still don't know what happened to the community. I don't know why it was so shit. I don't know why people treated it the way they did. It's a damn shame because it deters people from experiencing this. And this is one of the most incredible horror experiences I have had. And for $12, it's a pretty good deal. You can finish it in time and still get your refund. I'm not saying that is morally correct. Like, we want to show our support to the creators, but bitch, I want my money too. So I highly suggest you go play it for yourself. It's a good time. And thank you for listening to me ramble about yet another game. I've come to know these are less of video essays and more of me just gushing about games I love and why I love them. And I think that's okay. I love doing it. I'm going to keep doing it.